You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
Okay, and my name is Raul, by the way.
Okay.
What's yours?
It's Kouloum.
How do you spell your first name?
K-O-U-L-O-U-M.
K-O-U-L-O-U-M. Kouloum.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
right.
my name is Raul. So Kouloum, so you said that you have a belief in God.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me first explain what these interviews typically, like how they go.
Okay.
Typically, you pick some belief you have. In your case, it sounds like you believe in God.
Right.
And then the questions I ask will be, like, how did you establish that this belief is true? And why are you convinced that it's true?
There's one thing I know is
Oh wait, can I before you get into that, and we'll definitely get into all that.
okay.
But I'd like to start with how confident you are. So on a scale of 0 to 100%, is this something that you're absolutely 100% on, or would you say you're like 75%, 50%? Like, how confident are you that this belief is true?
Okay, how confident I can say 90%.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, 90%.
Otherwise, it would be 0%.
I'm sorry.
Otherwise, it would be 0%.
So 90% or 0%?
Or 0%.
Okay.
Whether I believe or not. I can
Okay.
even say 100% because God exists. That's my belief.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Say that again about 100%, would you say?
Whether God exists,
Mhm.
which is 100%, or He doesn't exist,
Okay.
or God doesn't exist, and then 0%. You
Okay.
see what I'm saying? Now I'm saying God exists, then it's 100%.
Okay, so you're one, and what I mean by 100% certainty, that would mean that this is a belief that you're absolutely certain of. There's no possibility of you being wrong. You have no questions about being wrong, anything like that.
No.
Okay, good. So you're about 100%.
Mhm.
Okay, so what gets you to 100%? What is it that makes you so confident that God does exist?
It's just the way I see life. First of all, I was born as a Christian,
Okay.
and I used to go to church like almost every Sunday. And today, I'm not saying I'm not going, but I'm not the same person, right? So when you see how things happen in your life, and you see the way thing comes in your life, you ask yourself why this is happening. And sometimes you see the way stuff are really connected. You know what I'm saying? And then you trying to get a pattern between events that are happening in your life. It makes you think. It makes you, ask yourself, why is this happening?
Hmm.
So what is the force behind all this that is happening in your life?
Mhm.
So, and then when you ask those questions and you come to the conclusion that something must be making all this to happen.
Is it possible for somebody to see a pattern in their life, kind of like you're describing, and yet there not actually be something behind it? Is that possible for
I
somebody?
cannot say that for anyone. I can say that only for myself.
Okay, for you. In your case, is it possible for you personally to not with God, I'm not asking about God, just generally speaking.
Generally speaking.
Is it possible for you to see a pattern in your life of some sort,
To me,
and that pattern not actually be due to something, something behind it? In other words,
Possibly,
the pattern's not there.
yeah, possible.
You think it's there, but
possible.
okay.
Possible. Yeah.
So how can we determine if there is something behind a pattern or if there's not? Like how do we make that determination of whether or not there's something behind it?
This is something that everyone has to come up with, because this is not like a calculation pattern or a scientific pattern. It is something that you think that is happening, something that you have a certainty that is not just happening because it's happening. It's happening because something has to happen. You see what I'm
Okay.
saying, right?
So you're saying we just need to have a certainty that something has a pattern?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, not have to, but it comes in. I mean, this is personal, right? This is a personal. It's not like general idea that I'm saying that it has to be that way.
Mhm.
It's conceptual.
Okay. If you were mistaken about the God being behind the pattern that you see in your life, is that something that you would desire to know?
Of course, yes.
You would want to know?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Is having a certainty about something, does that necessarily mean that it's true?
Not necessarily.
Okay. So
Not
how do we determine whether or not our certainty is well founded?
Just trying to maybe do some analysis on your own.
Okay.
Yeah, you can yourself set up a strategy to see if the way you thinking about things happening in your life is a pattern or not. You can make that. I mean, you can try to have a strategy, right?
Mhm.
And then set up something and see if this want to go through this, if this happened this way or it doesn't happen the way I was expecting it to happen.
Mhm.
Just it's something that you experience as long as you live. I mean, sometimes it comes from experience, right? You live a situation one day, other day you live another situation, and then you ask yourself, okay, why? So many questions, right? So yeah, you're trying to grab, put your hands on a specific idea that is behind all that is happening in your life. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you know that it's God that's behind the pattern that you see instead of
Things just happening?
Yeah, I can think of probably like if we sit here long enough, we can probably think of 100 different things that could hypothetically be behind the pattern. It could be God. It could be the Force from Star Wars. It could be Elvis's dead ghost. It could be 100 different things. Like, how do you know that it's God behind it instead of something else?
Okay. I can speak as a Christian right now to say that for you to be at some level of confidence about something that you believe that is happening in your life, maybe you should put that in the prayers, pray about it, and if it's really what you think that is happening, things might happen. You pray about an idea, you pray about something, put something together and say, I'm going to pray on this idea today. And I'm going to keep praying on it. I can go through fasting, to Christian way of getting things the way they want them to happen in their life. So I'm not saying I'm Christian, but I'm saying I'm speaking as a Christian. Right?
Yeah. Do you think that the fact that you were brought up as a Christian might have something to do with why, when you notice a pattern, you say it must be God?
Yes, my first, at certain age, yes. But today, I cannot say exactly the same thing as I used to say before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before, at certain age, all I know about believing is believing in God, because I was born as a Christian, going to church and praying. You see what I'm saying, right? And then anything that happens in my life and I have no idea why it's happening, I say, okay, this has to be something that is connected to my belief. You know what I'm saying, right?
I wonder, how would we tell the difference between yourself, who says God is behind the pattern in your life, and somebody from a different religion who says that their God is behind the pattern that they see in their life? Like, if both of you are saying that your God is behind the pattern that you see, what's the difference?
I did not make any difference between gods. I just see God.
Okay.
The way you're saying it right now, it looks like I have a belief in a certain God. Mm-hmm. And some people might have a belief on some other God.
You did say
I'm
you
not-
are a Christian.
I,
Right.
I say I was born as a Christian. I'm not saying I'm a Christian.
Oh, okay.
That's not what I'm
Thank you.
saying.
Yeah, thank you for that correction.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just want to make it clear. I
Okay.
just say God.
So
It doesn't
maybe-
matter what God you believe in.
hmm
I just say God in
Okay.
general.
Maybe I can change the hypothetical scenario then.
Yeah.
How do I tell we tell the difference between you who say God is behind the pattern in your life and someone who says that the Force is, have you ever seen Star Wars?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Force, the idea of the Force. Somebody says they believe the Force is behind the pattern they see in their life. Like, how do we determine which one of those claims is true?
Okay. When you talk about force, what do you mean specifically by force?
Just some non-personal.
Non-personal, spiritual. Is that has to happen? Is that has to be related to spiritual concept?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm not trying. Maybe we can say.
Because the force, when we speak about force, it has to happen. It has to be a little bit spiritual, right?
Mhm,
It can't just be any force. If a scientific force,
mhm.
natural force.
All right, so
spiritual
let's-
force, you see what I'm saying?
Maybe I can change it again.
Okay.
Let's say you say that God is behind the pattern in your life, and somebody else says the pattern behind their life is due to random chance. So in this case, there's nothing spiritual implied. Just they say that that random chance is the reason for the pattern in their life.
Mhm.
How do we determine which of those claims is based in reality?
This question is hard to answer because I cannot speak for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
I can only speak for what I know. And that's what I was saying previously. To determine what can be seen as real depend on who is doing the analysis, who is trying to get what he wants to get.
Interesting.
Right? So depends on what you want to get. You ask me a question, I tell you about what is happening in my life. I
Okay.
tell you about what I see things, the way I see things,
Mhm.
right? Now it's up to you to determine from what I said, what do you want to get from it?
Do you think that a process that relies so heavily on what I want to get out of it
Mhm.
is reliable?
Possibly. I don't know where you're going with your ideas, but yeah, it might be reliable.
It might be reliable.
Yeah.
How would we determine, like, if two different people use this approach
Mhm.
of trying to figure if something's true,
Mhm.
and they're basing it on what they want, are they likely to reach the same result?
Possibly.
Okay.
Possibly, yes. Possibly, yes. Yeah. If it's really a force behind it, if it's really a belief that is behind the two people's concept, then yes, you will get to the same result. But if it's a random way of thinking,
Mm-hmm.
then you might not get the actual conclusion that you want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What if somebody, back to the hypothetical scenario of the person who says, I believe random chance is behind my pattern,
Mhm.
and they ask you, how can I determine if this is true? I'm open to being wrong. How can I figure out if it's true? And you say, it depends on what you want. And they say, okay, I want it to be random chance. So
Okay.
they go about using this method, and they determine that it's true. It is random chance because that's what they want. They want it to be random chance, and therefore that's what it is.
Yes.
Can we trust their conclusion, or did they?
Okay. When we say random chance, we never expect anything to to be the way we want it to be when it's random, right? When it's random. So you just take whatever comes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you think, okay, there is a force behind it, then you're expecting something to be the way you want it to be, because you think that your belief on the things are happening in your life supposed to go the way you're seeing that they should be going, right? So randomly, you cannot expect anything.
Okay.
But having an idea that this things is happening in my life because of this, then you already have in the back of your mind that you should be expecting things to be the way you have already seen them to be. You see what I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah, so...
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's imagine a world where, in actuality, you were mistaken about your belief,
Mm-hmm.
and you're wrong. You think that you're right in this hypothetical scenario. You think that you're right about God being behind the pattern in your life, but you're actually wrong. You're
It's just an
mistaken.
example that I just gave you. Is that, yeah, I mean,
Okay.
the way...
Well, what is
just
it?
an example saying that for me to believe that God exists,
Mhm.
it should be, I mean, it has to be this happening in my life, and I will be asking myself some questions why things are happening a certain way in my life, and then from there I can say, okay, this is happening. Has to be something behind it. It has to be a logic behind it. So something must be behind something, some force or some kind of belief has to be making all those things to happen.
Okay.
So that's the point. That's the point where I start believing that God exists.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
How would
things
it-
don't just happen?
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
If you were wrong about this belief, hypothetically,
Right.
how would you know?
How would I know?
Mhm.
Just test it. Just test my belief.
So how do you test your belief then?
Just want things to happen the way you want them to happen. Just test something. Okay, I want to have a. Just don't want to say it this way about it. Okay, just say that you want to go to an interview.
You want to go to
To an interview.
an interview.
Interview
Okay.
for a job interview,
Hmm.
and then pray for it. If you were Christian, pray for it.
Hmm.
And then pray for it and believe strongly that God will help you get that job too. Right?
Okay.
It might be random. You might get the job because you have a talent or you have all the requirement
Hmm.
to get a job. Or sometimes not everyone that has that quality, everyone. Because when you go to a job interview, almost everyone that is there to get a job has the requirements. If you don't have it, you're not going.
Hmm.
You're not going. So for you to be selected, it has to be not a chance, but not necessarily, but something must support you, must be behind that. Okay, it has to be me. It has to be me. It has to be you.
Hmm.
So you're praying. So when you go, 100 people went to the interview, and it comes that they pick you. How do you think things happen? How do you think out of 100 people, it was you that was picked? Maybe other people that did not get a job, maybe some of them might have way experience than you, but you were picked.
Hmm.
What makes you? What do you think that makes you? What do you think that made you be picked out of 100? You ask yourself those questions.
Okay.
Right? And then when you get a job, you say, "Wow, this happened. Wow." So you're happy.
Okay.
You ask yourself, "Wow." Then, if you're Christian, you believe that God has been behind
Hmm.
you being selected, right? Because you pray for it and you went, He gave you the job.
Okay. So
See
in
what I'm saying?
that scenario,
It's just an example, right?
yeah, in that example, let's say the person tried that. They prayed beforehand. They really, really believe that they're going to be the 1 in 100 that gets hired.
Mhm.
Let's say they didn't get hired. Would that be a failed test then? Did they try the test and it failed?
That happens all the time.
Okay, great.
That
Great.
happens all
Okay,
the time.
great.
And at that point, you who got that idea before going, you're a Christian. The way I said it because it's a way of me trying to tell you, trying to prove the idea, right?
Mhm.
But a Christian would not have that in mind before going, right? He would just pray and go to the interview, right? You see what I'm saying, right?
Mhm.
He will pray, go to the interview. He got it, say, oh, my God has answered my prayers, right? Otherwise, he will be very discouraged.
Okay.
His belief, right?
So
He'll be
if-
like, oh, wow, why this didn't happen? You see what I'm saying, right?
But in the event that they didn't get hired, then that would be
That would be a failure.
they did the test and the test failed.
But it
so that-
doesn't happen only once, though. Because you cannot test on something once and then say,
Oh, okay.
come to the conclusion that, okay, God doesn't exist.
And that's for both conclusions, right? You can
Yeah.
neither conclude that God exists or that God doesn't exist, right?
You cannot conclude
Okay.
immediately that God doesn't exist.
How many of these tests would we have to run in order?
In order for you to be certain, right?
Mhm.
Give yourself a number. You will, it's personal.
For you, what is
For
it?
me, for example,
Like, if it's not one test for you, what would how many times would convince
and I
you?
don't want to do without it anyway, because I never tried to test God, to test the existence of God. I never tried that.
Well, this is a test that you proposed.
I just proposed, but I never did.
So,
I never tried it personally. I never tried
oh, okay.
to test if God exists or not. But it's a way for me to tell you that if you really want to believe, if you really want to prove that something that you believe in is real, then test it.
This is a reliable way to do that.
Reliable way
Okay.
of testing it.
Okay.
Yeah, but
so,
I never said personally.
so the results of this test
Mhm.
can be trusted no matter which way they go. If the tests are positive, in other words, you get hired, so many times, that's a confirmation.
Confirmation.
On the other flip side, if you do not get hired, the results are reliable. God's not behind it.
Yes.
God.
I believe so. Yes.
There's no God behind the pattern.
Yes. This is just to make it real, right?
Mhm.
If you keep praying for something, not only one thing, try so many things in your life. Pray, go, fail. Pray, go, fail. Pray, go, fail.
Mhm.
Then what's the point of keep praying?
Okay.
That's why you come to the conclusion that maybe your way of believing is not real.
Okay. So,
So-
in other words, God doesn't exist?
For you, maybe.
What do you mean for you?
When talking about belief, it has to be everyone's way of saying things,
Mhm.
right? It's not something general. If you choose to go to church because you think going to church might bring you something good in your life,
Mhm.
going to church believing that God exists might make your life better than what you have, right?
Mhm.
Right? So it's personal. It's something individual. It's not collective. It's not general.
Okay. So,
You see what I'm saying, right? I know many people believe in this. It doesn't have to be general. It has to be individual way of seeing things, individual concepts. This is an individual.
mhm.
Yeah.
so
Those
So when I asked the question, like, if you were wrong, how would you know?
How would I know
The way-
that I was wrong?
Right. I know you gave me a test for other people, but for you, if you personally were wrong, how would you know that you're wrong? How would you discover that you're mistaken about God being behind the patterns?
It's something you have to. I cannot say that I wouldn't know that this is that my way of thinking that God exists is wrong, because You might run the test so many times and fail, but that is a reality. After all, that we all know. Oh, okay. If I'm mistaken, the way I'm saying it, God exists. It doesn't matter what you want to get out of what you're thinking, but things don't just happen this way.
So if you were wrong about that,
Yeah.
though, how would you discover it? How would you know that? How would you know that you're wrong?
How would I know? That
Yeah,
I'm wrong?
hypothetically, if you were wrong, how would you know
That
personally?
God exists. That I'm
No,
correct,
how would you know that he doesn't
exists.
exist? Right.
I don't know, because I will never ask myself that question. Anyway. I will never ask myself if I'm in a position to think if God exists or not. Is a way to determine that my belief is right or wrong. What I know is right. That's the only thing I know. I just don't want to think otherwise. I
Okay.
just don't want to think otherwise. Yeah.
Thank you, Kouloum.
All right, thank you, sir.
I appreciate it, man. You finish up the semester?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Are you excited to be done with studies? Done with tests? Done with essays? Done with
Yeah.
the stress?
Yes. Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Well, enjoy your break, man.
Oh, you too, sir.
Take it easy.
You too.